I am fascinated with how we dress before we dress. What secrets do we hide? My name is Sarah Nilsson, the singing costumer, and this is Unmentionables Through the Decades. For the 1950s, I thought I'd make something a lot more sassy than I usually sew. I've had this pattern for at least 8 years. It was too advanced for me at that time, but I fell in love with it and I bought it anyway. Mrs. Depew has the most beautiful patterns in her Etsy. She takes vintage patterns, many from French sewing magazines, and makes these patterns available to all. There are many patterns in her shop I'd love to make. For this project, I used 2 of them. They are number 2002 garter belt corselet and number 2001 French bra corselet. To avoid confusion, since they're both labeled corselets, I will call the latter a long line bra. I will post this video about the garter belt this week and the long line bra next week. These patterns are PDF downloads, which are very convenient. These come in only a few sizes and don't include seam allowances. I printed the pattern on my home printer, cut it out, and then added my seam allowances. First, I made a practice version, or a mock-up. That one turned out a little bit too big. A corset is usually made to include a gap in the lacing at the back to accommodate small size fluctuations up and down. This mock-up closed completely on me at the waist, but was too big at the hips. I then made the final version one size down, and that worked very well. For this project, I used a length of black floral brocade. It is just beautiful. I did have some issues identifying the front and the reverse side, since both looked very similar. I couldn't decide whether I wanted it to be black with red ribbons or all black. Eventually, I chose black because that's what I had in my stash. Someday, I'm going to make a pale pink or a soft peach version, maybe even lavender. Who knows? But I do want one to wear under lighter clothes where the black would show through. On the back edges, the fabric was folded over to create channels for my steel boning. I chose to make the eyelets next. That's my least favorite part of any project, so it seemed best to get it over with quickly. The holes were punched and the eyelets set using my crocodile tool, and then I sewed over them with black thread, as is my custom. This took far too long. Finally, I was ready to start the actual construction. The right sides were sewn together, leaving the seam allowances on the outside. That was then covered up by a bit of satin ribbon. On the inside, I sewed in the boning channels along those lines and inserted the boning. It only goes partway up the seam as directed in the pattern. Then I bound the bottom and top edge with regular bias tape. I made little tubes in fabric and inserted elastic for the garters. The clips are from corsetmaking.com. The very last step was the lacing. I used a bunny ears pattern. This method allows the wearer to tighten the corset on themselves. That's all for today. Thanks so much for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe if you're of the mind to do so. Wishing you creativity and a dash of pixie dust. Bye for now.